Welcome to Remote First Innovators, the podcast for leaders who are scaling companies built for the modern world. We sit down with founders and experts in distributed work to explore how they've broken down barriers and solved the real-world challenges of growing and running remote teams. Each episode dives into practical strategies for onboarding, IT, security, compliance, and everything it takes to build a thriving distributed business. No fluff, no theory, just what works when your team is everywhere and operations never stop. Here are your hosts, Robert Phelps and Jake Gump.
Welcome back to another Remote First Innovators podcast, the show where we talk about leaders shaping the future of remote work, technology, and culture. Today's guest is the founder and creative director of a design and branding agency that's been fully remote since 2012. He holds degrees in computer science and graphic design and software development, and his work has earned more than 70 industry awards. He's built a 100% 1099 team, mastered international hiring, and navigated cybersecurity and AI in the creative world, all while running a thriving business completely online. From Van Aken Creative, please welcome Tristan Van Aken. Welcome to the show, Tristan.
Hey, Jake, I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate everybody from Creative IT for having me speak with you all this weekend.
Love it. I appreciate that as well. Appreciate your time. I've enjoyed getting to know you and learn more about your business and just, appreciate you taking the time. Just go ahead and dive right in here. And, you've been working remote for over a decade. Everyone's 1099 and, it just made sense. So I just like to start there and kind of when you first started your business, why did it make sense to go remote? And, how did your people you were working with and, maybe even family or friends, what do they all think about the remote, starting a remote business?
Sure. Yeah. So back in 2012, it was just me at the time. I was doing more photography than graphic design at the time. And eventually I was like, okay, I need to switch gears. Right. And so if we're doing more graphic design, there are certain things I wasn't proficient at, as proficient as my peers. And so ended up trying to figure, okay, how do I bring some people on board? And at that time I was like, well, hiring people full time, especially when I was in college running a business, they were all in college as well, the only people I knew. And so it was difficult managing that, right? I brought someone on board and, between school and work and their family lives and going home on breaks, it wasn't working, right? Because I was working with real clients, whereas they were more in the design program still. And so essentially what happened is like, okay, well, I need to figure out how do I find people beyond, I went to Gardner Webb, right? So beyond Shelby, North Carolina, where there's not that many people. And so, born and raised in Charlotte, I said, okay, let's start looking for people in Charlotte. Found a couple, but I wasn't at the point to where I could hire them 40 hours a week, right? And so creatively, just because I started doing freelance work, I was like, okay, what if I find other freelancers, other people who work with other companies, other agencies that need to make some income on the side? And I started doing that, and it worked pretty well. And then, we obviously ran into hurdles with hiring and work being done on time and, you name it. And so actually took mentorship or watched a couple of videos from the famous Chris Do and learned from him about, okay, here's how to properly hire people. And we started using a different system. And ever since then, I mean, it's been cake work, and we've refined it over the years. And then, COVID hit and nothing changed on our end, but we started advising other agencies on here's how to hire, here's how to retain remote work, and here's how to reduce the overhead that employees carry, as well as, teaching them tax benefits of like, hey, you're remote, you're 1099, but you can actually make more money by being a 1099 versus a W-2 employee, right? And, educating on that. So it's been a completely different experience, and I wouldn't go back.
I'm interested to quickly, before we dive into more into that, what were the remote tools back then in 2012? I know it's kind of...
So remote tools were Skype, They had like Talkbox, which was one as far as video calls. A lot of stuff was just done over the phone. I even did it in flip phones. I think I was using a flip phone in 2012, which is crazy. Email. I mean, it was a lot more difficult. You know, they had tools like Zoom, but it wasn't as refined. And so the goal is, you know, I met with the clients and the designers, all they did was design. And so we've actually still hold to that today of like, hey, you do what you're good at. I'm good at speaking with clients. So I'm the face that everybody meets. Whereas there's a whole machine working in the background. It was a lot more difficult though. And a lot of clients wanted to meet in person. And so there were times, you know, as a college student just starting out, you know, I was only making, I don't know, 30,000, 40,000 a year in 2012. So nothing. And then, you know, I had to take plane trips up to Boston and places like that. And, you know, I had to do that under the radar too, because my parents wanted me to work at school and they couldn't know. And so it was a process. But now, I mean, I thank goodness for tools like this and Zoom and, you know, Google Drive and all that good stuff that just wasn't there then.
Yeah. Was there any period of time where you're like, maybe I just need to go get a full office and start hiring people? I mean, was there ever that temptation to do that?
There was. So we bought a full office, had 6 computers. This actually below the office that we're at now. And I think we were, you know, paying between $8,000 and $12,000 a month, depending on the month. And everybody was doing stuff online. Everybody's doing stuff on a computer. And then I'd say 80% of the time, they weren't even in the room, right? It was basically a glorified conference room for presenting to clients. And, you know, I did veer off, you know, trying to, I guess, look bigger than, you know, because a lot of people in the, you know, still didn't accept that we were all remote work. They wanted an agency full of employees. And it was hard to explain to them that what we have is so much better for them and for us, right? All around, you know, because our overhead's low, your price is lower. And because we can leverage 17, 18, 20 designers instead of only being able to afford 5, we can get more work done by a different variety of skill sets, right? And because we're not everybody in Charlotte, we're not limiting to how good the design capabilities are. Now we can go into places, you know, like Texas or California or New York that have designers that are top tier. I mean, there's better talent, which allows us to produce better work. And so, you know, having the building is and trying to hire employees was kind of my only way around that. And then, you know, confidence played a huge role to turn that back around. COVID hit. And I was like, I'm getting rid of this thing. Like, no, everybody's online now. Nobody's going to question it again.
Was there one thing that you learned early that still shapes how you run your business now?
Yeah. So education, I would like to say like education of how freeing it is to be your own boss. I've been through seminars and companies that teach free enterprise. And so I've always been told as a kid, what business are you going to own? Not what job you're going to get. Right. And like, even when I was at Camden military, my attack officer, he was like, hey, you're going to be designing everything for our games and stuff like that. And so I've had the support my whole life. And then I had a mentor that's been in my life for a long time. And he's always said, hey, free enterprise is the way to go. And I've seen what he's done. And so my passion is if I can, I'd rather teach people how to be their own boss, make good money, provide for their family, and do what they love at the same time. And if I hire employees, then in my opinion, I'm no better, right? I'm in my opinion, putting people down to an extent to where they are worth so much more, and I know it. And so I'd rather teach them how to own their own business, and hey, you're going to get work from us as well. You know, it's the best of both worlds.
I love that. That seems to me like that'd be very empowering to be able to, you know, empower other people and then also work collaboratively. But collaboration, I feel like is a constant theme with remote work, because you have to collaborate and you're almost forced to be a really good networker remote. Do you feel like that your network is still good local as well as nationwide?
Yeah, I mean, collaboration, in my opinion, is just another form of communication. You know, you asked it, you know, before, how'd you do it back in 2012? And the answer is just good communication. There's a guy on our team, Ardian Pizzari. He is from Kosovo, and his communication is excellent. Anytime we send him work, he's back and forth asking questions. I've never not been on time, and just finding the right people with good communication skills makes collaborating much easier, especially if they have a passion for what they do. Once you find the right people who actually have a passion and want to work with you, it's a lot easier, right? I mean, you got to go through the trenches to find them, but there's ways that you can make it a lot easier.
Going through the trenches is basically what I would say is trying to hire somebody. So you kind of mentioned earlier that you had a recipe for this. How do you find creative professionals who are reliable and they're communicative and they're independent?
Sure. So there's two main websites we go through, and that's Dribbble with 3 B's, not 2. That's a big one. So dribbble.com, and then Behance. Behance is a huge tool for creators. We tend to stay away from companies like 99 Designs and Fiverr and this, that, and the other, just because it seems that there is good talent on those sites, but you have to go through way too much not good talent to get to find the good ones. Whereas Behance, basically you put a post out there saying, hey, here's what I need, here's what I'm looking for, right? I need a designer that works remotely, right? Freelance, so you're not full-time. I need to know where you're from. I need to know your website, your portfolio. I need to know kind of what your rates are, right? What do you like to charge for logo design or whatever it is? And then your availability and how you like to communicate. And then, they send all that over. You'll get 50, 60, 70 of them. And then you got to filter them through. We have a sheet that we use to do this, but we basically filter them in a matrix of, okay, here's everybody we've reached out to. Here's where they're located. Here's what I like about their work. Here's what I don't like. Here's their strong suit. So if they say they're a web designer, but their logos are really good, okay, well, maybe we'll use you as a logo designer, right? Highlight what they're good at, their skills. And then you give them a shot, right? It's like, okay, here's a project that's coming up. It's important that when you budget for your projects, you budget extra, right? So like if I'm going to give you $500 to help me design this logo for this client, I'm going to build that into the pricing so that we can test a new person out, right? See, okay, is he on time? Is it good? And if he completely botches it, doesn't matter. We've got, 6 other designers working on it. It's okay. Whereas if you had just an employee or 2 or 3 of them, if they botch it, that could be a big deal. And so, I mean, that's those are the 2 websites I recommend if anybody's looking to hire a creative, either part-time or full-time, remote work. Go through there because you'll find some good ones, and they'll come to you instead of you having to handpick them.
Have you ever had a bad hire that taught you a big lesson?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We had one guy, and I'm not going to name names because I really like him. He's a good dude. I highly respected him. He was great with clients, right? He was one of the few designers that we allowed with clients. And then everything was going good, and then the work started coming in, not late, but last minute. And it was not the quality of work that it used to be. And so then we found out that, there was drug problems and stuff like that. And so we had to let him go, it was rough because he was one of our best designers. And so we've had a hire that's happened. We've had a couple people that they say all the right things and just don't show up, right? And so one of our big filters is you're going to read a book. If you can't take time to read one chapter out of a book, I don't think you're going to be able to take time to actually be serious about this, right? And so there's a couple filters that we put in of, all right, if you can do these simple things, it'll work. And then we know we have a design filter now too. That's okay. You and I are going to each choose a design for each other. And if you can beat me in both of those designs, I know you're serious. I'm going to pay you for it, but you're probably going to be hired, right? And that because I don't want to hire anybody who is not. I don't want to say better than me. I want people who are better than me in the design world all day long. because I'm not the best. So
Reminds me of Steve Jobs, where he says you hire good people so they can tell you what to do. You don't hire people so you can tell them what to do, right?
yeah, and they get a lot of flexibility. I mean, I tell clients even on the discovery calls, like, hey, it might take 3 weeks for us to design you a logo, 4 weeks, depending on the size. Obviously, if you're a board of directors, that takes a lot longer. But if a designer asks for an extra week because they came up with a concept last minute that they really wanted to show, I'll give it to them. Like, hey, just, it might be an extra week past the scope, just, obviously depending on their sense of urgency, but like, I give them flexibility. I don't want their talents to be wasted, especially if they have a chance to design something awesome.
And you want to see, man, is they're asking for a week? Is it really going to be this good? Right.
Yeah.
I can see why you do that. What's the biggest thing that you look for in interviews that you think other people overlook, or that maybe you overlooked in the beginning?
There's two things. I mean, if we're talking in the design world, the only thing I'm looking at is portfolio first, right? Like, and I know that sounds crazy. Like, I don't care about communication. I don't care about being on time. I don't care about your price. I care about your portfolio first. If your designs are generic, they look like everybody else's, they're not good, they're using colors that don't match, simple things, I'm not going to even go further with you, right? Now, outside of the design world, my biggest thing would be communication. Are they good on the phone? Are they good talking to you? Are they different from everybody else, right? And I think that goes with any job. Of the communication has to be there, and that's the second thing I look for after the portfolio. Is like, okay, you do good work. Funny enough, price is the last thing I look at. I'll pay you whatever if you're good enough. I mean, that's what I want. But then it's communication. Like, hey, are you good at sending video calls? Are you good at talking over the phone? If I ask for something, is it 1 week before I hear from you, or 24 hours or 48 hours? Like, what's comfortable for you, right? And if they say it's 1 week, I appreciate them being honest, right? And depending on what the design is, I may be like, okay, cool. Or I may be like, no, that's not going to work. But, I look for the communication side too. And I'm going to add to that real quick. So I think, and my belief is that depending on your industry, right? Like, obviously, if you're a doctor, you can't just go hire someone who's no doctor skill and teach them everything. But I think a lot of industries, like, if you find someone with good communication that will be loyal to your company, then teach them everything and then they won't leave you. They don't have to know everything about your industry for you to hire them, right? If you teach them and you build that loyalty and communication, you're going to have, in the long run, a lot better employee, or someone working for you than not, in my opinion.
I heard a lot of manager friends of mine, getting up into our age group. A lot of friends of mine are in manager positions now and doing some hiring, and some of them take risks on the college students coming out of college, maybe coming out of their first job or something like that. And how do you know when to invest in those younger generation? And some of them were kind of afraid, man, I teach them everything I know, then they just go open up their own thing and they're good. Well, it depends on your industry, right? But how do you feel like when they're worthwhile to invest in all that time into?
Yeah. I heard you say that, they go up and do their own thing. We're actually not against that. A lot of the designers that we work with, we encourage them, hey, if you need help with a client of your own, you have access to our assets. Like, you have access to our templates, our proposals, like, make it your own. But like, we want you to go out on your own, right? I believe in karma. I believe that what goes around comes around. What you sow, what you reap. So I have no problem with that. As far as the college, I don't actually look at that anymore. I don't want to know. I don't want to know if they went to college or not, because I'm under the impression a lot of times that if you've gone to college, you're going to be more difficult to work with than if you didn't, right? Design is learned, but most of the time it's either you have it or you don't, and you have it before you go to college. If you can draw, if you can make things and you're good at it, all I got to do is teach you Adobe Illustrator and Adobe Photoshop. I mean, that's it, right? If you can learn those two things, which you don't have to go to college for, I can teach you, okay, proper design styles, like how to set it up, this, that, and the other. That's fine. But a lot of these people we hire don't go to college. And if they did, they're no longer looking for freelance opportunity. They're looking for a full-time job, which we're just not going to give, right? Because that's what they've been conditioned to learn. Got to go get a job. Got to go get a job. You don't, right? There are agencies all over the U.S., especially today, that will hire you if you're good, So I would personally say, and again, this depends on the industry. I'm talking specifically design. I wouldn't worry too much about college. If anything, if someone says they're not in college, but their communication skills are out of this world, give them a shot. You're not going to find someone that's not on their phone all the time. So like, it's just, you got to have a good gut feeling with it.
Love that. You were mentioning the guy that you found from Kosovo, and I just, how do you find that individual?
Yeah. So funny enough, and I don't know, and I'm sure I'll hear from him on this. I don't know if he knows or not, but we weren't hiring outside of the United States. Like, that has been my rule. We don't hire with that outside the United States. One, for tax purposes, right? A lot of agencies do that. They don't realize tax man's coming for you. They don't necessarily like it. And so we tried to stay away from that. And then there's the culture is different in other countries, right? So design styles are different in other countries. Whereas you hire from India, it's a whole different style versus when you hire from America, right? Not saying it's good or bad, because over there it's probably perfect, but for America it's not, right? And then that goes for any country. But he somehow snuck through the filtering process, and I honestly didn't know he was from Kosovo until we were already having all those people in the matrix ready to go, and I was ready to call him. And then I found out, and I didn't say anything because I wanted, I liked what he was doing. And so he was the first hire that I was like, okay, we're going to let that go. And I don't think he knows this story. I don't think he has any idea. But it's been a blessing. I mean, he has been on time. He does great work. He asks great questions, and he's quick. I mean, he can design a logo, a few concepts, within a week, and it's great work. It's truly unique. And the first logo I gave him was probably the most complex logo I have ever seen or designed in the history of my career, and he nailed it, and they loved it. It was basically it was an engine, but with all the parts designed out. So it wasn't like a basic outline of an engine. It was like intricate with gears and everything, and he nailed it. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, remote work for him has been more difficult than people in the United States, right? It's different time zones. We use a lot of email. I'll actually record a video and send it to him. He'll record one and send it back. So it won't be like a live call. It'll just be, recording videos here and there. We do Facebook calls like on the phone, like the selfie mode, which, I don't care how it's done as long as it's effective for them and me. And the communication is so good. It's rudimentary how we collaborate, but it works. It works seamlessly, and that's all that matters. And so, yeah, I mean, he's definitely a different scenario when it comes to paying him. That was a huge challenge of its own. I mean, I have a CFO for hire, and he's great. And like, we ran into challenges with paying him because you can't put him on a payroll. You can't put him on 1099 because they don't live in America. And so we found an app called Wise, WISE, that it's a green app with a flag that allows you to transition all that for designers in other countries. It helps mesh their bank with your bank and be in compliance, which helped a lot. It took us a while to get there, though, because you used to have to go to Harris Teeter, go to Western Union, and send them $500 or $1,000. And the IRS doesn't necessarily always like that.
Well, was there any other challenges under regulations or taxes that or just obviously you're talking about managing the time zones? Any other challenges that you kind of felt from managing? I'm sure there's people that are going to be listening that are managing a global team.
Yeah. The IRS is going to audit you, so get ready for it. They don't like it at all. Especially before COVID, when we were doing remote work, they'd see our overheads like $3,000-$4,000 a month, but we were making X amount in income, exponentially higher. And they're like, how does that work? Right? They're like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't look right. This, that, and the other. We've gotten audited almost every year, and we pass every single time. Right? It's just an annoyance at this point. But yeah, they will question for sure what you're doing. So just make sure your paperwork's good, and then just be patient with them. Explain, here's how it's working. I think since a lot more agencies are doing it now, they're gonna be a lot more lenient on coming after people. But it's not traditional, so people aren't going to look at it as traditional. But that's the whole point, right? Is like, why are you spending $15,000-$20,000 a month in overhead when you don't have to? Put that money back into your business, back into your designers, back in the community, wherever you want to put it. And you can still produce the same, if not greater work.
Do you still try to hire just based upon talent level all over the world now, or are you still trying to still focus in the US?
Yeah, so we actually haven't done a hiring phase since before COVID. And so the answer is no, right? Because we haven't, but this go around, I'd be open to it, right? Now that we know kind of how that world works, I'd be open to hiring around the world. I just know it's going to be a lot more of a process to do so. We also have to think, especially as an IT person, compliance, right? There's certain things that designers outside of the US cannot have access to. And that was a huge one of, okay, well, I can't give Artie in certain projects because I've signed an NDA. My company has signed an NDA, and if he goes and steals these IDs, he'd never do this, by the way. But if he ever went and stole an idea and created a whole company out of it, there's nothing that on our side of the country we can do, right? I mean, and if so, it's very difficult. And so that is an issue as well. Is like if you're dealing with clients that have sensitive information, using designers and talent outside of the United States is probably not recommended.
Let's move into that. When we were talking, a few days back, you actually said you've turned down projects because of compliance concerns. Why was that?
Yeah. So the money is good. Don't get me wrong. The money is good. But there's greater risk, a lot greater risk, right? We have clients that send us hard drives, and the ability for us to get that hard drive is a lot more difficult nowadays than it used to be, mainly because of, security issues. I mean, people hack into everything. Is there ransomware on the hard drive? Like, you don't know, right? And the sensitive information. When I sign an NDA, a lot of these concerns have to go through background checks. A lot of these companies, the DoD and places we worked with before, they're not just background checking me, which I already have security clearance for a lot of things. They now have to background check everybody that touches it. They have to background check the agency, right? And so it's a lot of time consumption that, in my opinion, could be spent on clients that don't need that much compliance. To give you a brief example, we had a client come in and we bid on it, and it was looking good, and it took 6 to 8 months to get through the compliance and the background checks and this and the other just to work with them. But we went through it because I was like, okay, this feels pretty good. Well, we got underbid by somebody else, and we didn't get it, right? And so we wasted 8 months dealing with all these compliance regulations that could have been time used for standard clients, a few of them, that would have equaled the same amount, right? And so that's kind of, in our world, that's why I don't take on those clients very often anymore, just because it's a lot easier not having to deal with it.
I did forget to touch on, in the hiring process, you have, specific things that you've learned and maybe even a whole process and charts that you use. Can you kind of unpack that for us, and just maybe we can even link some of those things in the show notes for some of the leaders here that want to use this process, and I'd just like you to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. First thing I want to say is that these slides I'm about to show you, we didn't create them ourselves. This actually came from Christo and the Future, which is their company. They're another design agency in California, and he's wildly successful, right? He teaches other agencies how to grow. And so we got these from him, and we've been using them ever since. So we didn't personally design these, so I don't want to take credit for that. But more than happy to show you kind of the process, right? So you go on Dribbble, you go on Behance, you put out, hey, here's the work I need, right? I need a designer, freelance, does this, that, and the other. And then basically you're going to collect all those results, and you're going to put it into a card just like this one, right? You're going to say, okay, artist profile, top 3 skills, 4 skills, 5 skills. On the little white boxes on the bottom right, you're basically going to put, okay, here's the work that I saw on their portfolio that I really like. So screenshot that, throw it on there. Any notes? What is their availability? What's their website? Best contact information, right? So like if after you talk to them, what is your rating? Like out of 1 to 5, how do you rate them, right? And then, what country are they from if you're doing a different country? And then you can categorize skills, right? So like if red is web design, blue is graphic design, orange is logo design, you can kind of rate that. And then obviously their name, right? And so you kind of create this profile per artist. And so you're going to create, 30 or 40 of these that you like the most. You save it in a PDF, and then now you can always reference back to them, right? And then once you have all this information, you can head over to a matrix. And this is kind of, okay, cost benefit analysis, right? On the top left, you have, okay, 1 star is the lower quality of work. So the rating, you can either do 1 to 5, or you can do 1 star to 3 star, however you want to finagle this chart, right? 1 star work, but low cost, right? Is that top left one. You have 1 star work, but high cost, top right. And then you kind of take all those cards and you fill them out in this matrix here, right? And so like Ardian costs a little bit more, but he's a very high worth designer. His designs are really good. And so it's worth hiring Ardian, right? And so I tend to hire from the bottom right quadrant, like those 4, versus the top left. Now, where I'll use top left is like, okay, I need a quick brochure design. I just need the layout though. Great. I'll probably hire someone who's a 1 star with a very low price just to have something to baseline to start with, right? And so now you can kind of hire and make decisions based off of this matrix, all from these cards here. And that's kind of how we hire. What is it worth to you and to them? And that's step 1.
I love that. When you said the futur, or however you say that, I watch his videos all the time, but I didn't actually know his real name.
Yep, his name is Chris. And he's been we've been watching his videos since he started. And so a lot of our success is attributed to some of the words of wisdom that he's had. And so I do recommend anybody go, even if you're not in the design industry, go watch his videos. I mean, they're wild. It's crazy how intricate and how good at communication he is. And then that's where those cards came from. He did a video that actually has these cards, so you can probably go find it out there. But we use that exact step-by-step process because it's the most efficient that we found.
Yeah, I love his sales videos. He puts it in a way that makes a whole lot of sense, right? Especially when you're talking about, objections and how to deal with those and getting good at dealing with his objections. I just thought that his responses and his way of thinking, the way of explaining it to the client that has the objection, it's a lot of good stuff. I was trying to think of a way to put one of his videos basically where they were talking about, well, this video costs, $5,000. And then they were like, well, I don't want to pay $5,000. Okay, well, I'll give it to you for free, but then I get a cut of everything you make off that video. And they're like, well, what happens if it blows up? Like, you think, I know it's going to blow up.
We've actually done that. We have taken that, and we actually have a client now that we've done that with, and we're taking 10% of the company, and I'll do it for free. I'll do everything, website, logo, branding, all of it. And they're very happy with that deal, and I'm very happy with that deal. So look, we don't do that very often, like almost never, but in certain circumstances, if I know 100% I can grow this thing, I will do it, because either way we win. But it's funny you mentioned on there, the objections, the objection video. And I know that in your industry, you get objections probably all the time. People are like, oh, I don't need an IT company. I don't need someone to back up my stuff. I don't need any of that. And I'll tell you that we have clients that lose their stuff all the time. They get hacked, they have ransomware, you name it, all the time. And I'm always telling them, like, hey, it's not if it happens to you, it's when. It happens to everybody. We've had ransomware attacks. My family has ransomware attacks. Most of my clients have ransomware attacks. It happens to almost everybody. And so, I mean, and they always say, oh, we don't need it. I'm like, you do need it. You just don't know yet. you know? And so your world's the same as far as IT. And, with our work that we have to back everything up. If I lose some of my clients' files, especially if it's one that meets compliance regulations, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm in so much trouble. I could even get sued. I'm in so much trouble. And so, I back up on backup. I got a million of these things that we back up every month. And then, IT company can come in and they can like flash screen it. And, if any ransomware starts to happen, you can protect yourself. But yeah, man, I know you deal with that as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that insight, because that literally is every week I talk to business owners that maybe they're going through a security event. Maybe they had a friend that got hit by something. This isn't 25 years ago where there's McAfee and Norton. I say this to people all the time. We literally have to have, cybersecurity teams looking out for people's stuff. We've got a lot of clients just like you that they have to be back up and running within a certain amount of time. And a lot of times the business owners don't realize that, if you were to lose your data, how long would it take to restore it from a backup? Well, it's going to take 2 weeks. Can you afford to be down for 2 weeks? No, I can't, so you have to have backup solutions and, security that matches the amount of risk in your business. And, these are the types of conversations that I would consider next level compared to, like you started in 2012. We started around that time, in creative IT. And so, things were just a lot different. Security was a lot different. And now fast forward to 2025, AI is just, making everything go faster. And that, unfortunately, it's good, but it also includes bad things as well. So definitely appreciate that, the highlight of that. It makes me want to think that what advice would you give to any businesses who thinks that, the cloud's going to keep them safe, or, well, I don't have to have anything, you kind of mentioned some of those things, but is there anything additional that you could, maybe even share a story that you had, that or someone, that on a security event that maybe would be an insight for a business owner?
Yeah. I'll share a personal story because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. But it's happened to us, right? And so I learned the hard way. I mean, I knew in the back of my mind always that basically the Google Cloud is just another computer. Like, yeah, your information's on another computer, but that can also get hacked. And if you think ransomware won't change all the file types on your Google Cloud so you can't use them, no, it happens. It's happened to us. And that's why we back up so much, because it happened. I literally took the hard drive out of my computer, threw it away, and got a new one and rebooted it because I wasn't going to risk anything. And we put the backup on there. But even doing that ourselves, you're talking, we have 4 to 6 terabytes worth of data. It took a few days that we were down, and we had to let clients know. And so the cloud is great. We use Google Drive, and they have security tools, and we pay for all their best security tools. Been paying for it for years. It didn't stop it. It still happened, right? And they were very good with working with us, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, I mean, it was on us. And we did lose a couple files, some files that we couldn't get back. So we had to not only that, we had to redesign everything, right? And luckily I remembered what designs we did, so I knew how to do it. But, if you're in the insurance industry, or if you're in the, if you're an accountant, or even if you're in the IT industry, or if you're in the IT industry, better. But if you're in any industry that deals with any sensitive information, and your cloud gets hacked, or any of your files get hacked, and you think the cloud's going to protect you, 1, it won't. 2, you're out of compliance. And 3, if it happens, I've heard of people getting they didn't get jail time, but they were it was on the table, right? And so the cloud is not any different than a PC. Yeah, it's great to have as extra storage when you have too much stuff, or if you get a new computer or something like that, you need to re-download everything. Great. But if you think that's like a secure solution, the only way you can do it is to hire an IT company, or rigorously back up yourself, which by the time you buy 100 of these, you might as well have owned an IT company. These are $200 a pop, right? And some IT company, I don't know what the pricing is, but probably $500,000, $1,500 a month, you could probably have something decent under your belt. right? That'll protect you, and not just protect you, but protect you immediately, right? You give Jake from Creative IT a call, he's going to answer the phone. They're going to have you back up and running, and they're going to be working with you personally because you have no idea what you're doing. Whereas if you just have a flash drive, a hard drive, you plug that into a ransomware computer to put stuff on, now the whole hard drive is messed up, right? And so we have had plenty of clients that's happened to, and they call me because we're the designers. We're closely working with them forever, right? And I try to help where I can, but at the end of the day, we're like, you need to hire an IT company, or else this will happen again. I mean, this isn't going to be the last time, unless you've got 15 Bitcoin to send them. You're not getting your files back. They're gone.
Right. I couldn't stress that enough. If I always joke with people, if you'd seen the stuff that we see on a weekly basis, you'd be stroking that check to that IT company or, security company at a moment's notice. Right. And it's be the best money you ever spent. We're also coming up on what I like to call hack season, where, while we're out on the holidays, that's when all the hackers are trying to get into your stuff in the middle of the night and while you're asleep, and while you're out of the office during Thanksgiving and Christmas and other times like that. So we've actually also seen a rise in business email compromise in the past 6 months. Unprecedented amounts of phishing attempts, and really what they're trying to do is they're trying to reroute invoice payments. They're trying to get your staff to put in their credentials so they can gain access. And they're getting better and better because AI learns, and AI can come really close to exactly who you're talking to. And then if you don't have these things in place that are keeping track, that hurts your reputation. I mean, imagine I bet you didn't like writing or calling your clients and saying, hey, we got hit, with ransomware. That was probably very, very embarrassing for you, and having to go through that. And then there may not, I'm sure you probably had a good enough relationship with all your clients. Are like, hey, we're gonna be just fine. It might be a couple days delay, but we still got everything backed up. It'll be fine. But some people it may not be that easy, right? And it may be business altering, life altering type of cybersecurity.
Very, very thankful that at that time our clients were very understanding, and also you got to remember I've helped them so they understood. But literally 2 months later, we had a client that had highly sensitive. We had to have a crazy amount of compliance done. If it happened during that time, it would have been a huge problem for us. It might have shut us down. I mean, it was that big of a project. So thank God it didn't happen then. But yeah, I mean, it can be disastrous for a company. It can literally put them out of business. We've seen companies go out of business in Charlotte, agencies, because of it. We've watched them go out of business. And it's sad to see.
Yeah, I want to get your hot take on this because we see a lot of intrusions coming through domains. A lot of, I think there is some providers, like we just know GoDaddy just, set it to where you have to have two-factor authentication. If everybody who's listening, multi-factor authentication, two-factor authentication, that's the annoying codes that you have to put in on your phone, or, they send it to an authentication app or something like that. But I know that some companies are making that mandatory. However, there is some websites that are not secure by nature. Some CRMs that are not secure by nature. And I'd just like to get your opinion on this. And, which ones do you think aren't secure and why are they risky?
Sure. So, we talked about this a little bit. I could go down this path, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for saying this. But if your business is on WordPress, get off. Build your site somewhere else. I don't, and there's a distinguishment. I'm talking about WordPress where you had a templated site, not custom built from the ground up. But most of the clients we get come from WordPress because they've gotten hacked one too many times. We have a good friend of mine who works at a company that theirs gets hacked quite often, and it happens all the time. And WordPress is not the most secure out there. And that's what they teach in college, is how to build a website on WordPress. So people who go into these agencies who are web design specialists, they only know how to use WordPress, right? It's kind of like the standard in the industry. The problem is that there's a lot of issues with it, and that's just not just with security, but beyond security. I mean, design, having a business on there, SEO, I mean, you name it. It's a mess. And that's not to bash the ones who truly know how to build and secure a website on WordPress. I applaud you. I know it's a lot of work to do and a lot of work to convince your clients to actually do it, but 99% out there just aren't. If you own a domain through GoDaddy, I recommend GoDaddy. I like GoDaddy a lot. I've been through Bluehost 1-in-1. I mean, we do web design for companies, right? And so we go through them all. GoDaddy is by far the best. You can secure your domain through them for like $10 a month. And we have had zero problems since we've had our clients go through GoDaddy. Not to say it won't happen, right? It could. But it's a lot more secure. A lot of your information is private. A lot of your information, they have two-factor authentication, which is an absolute nightmare for design agencies, but it's great for the client, right? And then make sure you get your SSL certificate, which now they're pretty much required. Every site we design comes with it. It's just part of it. But that just allows customers to trust you. There's different levels of security certificates. A lot of people don't know that. So if you're doing a certain thing with the government, you need a different SSL certificate than the standard ones that come with most sites. A lot of companies don't know that. And a lot of companies who do bids for the government never get them. They're like, why? They're looking at your SSL and realizing you don't have enough security. There's like multiple levels. I don't remember if it's class A, B, or C, or 1, 2, and 3, but there's like different levels, especially with e-commerce. Use a platform like Webflow, has pretty decent security. They run through Amazon Web Servers, which I actually think they're going to Cloudflare now, which is even more secure. Put spam filters, put Recapacha, like just go all out with security on your websites. If someone offers it, definitely pay for it. It's worth it. Because if your website gets hacked, or even worse, if your email or Shopify gets hacked, it could be huge problems. Now they have access to all of your client data, and again, you're still better than ransomware. It's just another thing, and agencies don't offer it. A lot of them don't offer the security stuff when it comes to websites, and I don't know why. Because it's going to fall back on them when something happens.
One quick plug that I'll mention when you were talking about two-factor authentication and just how much of a pain that it is. Try password tools. We use a password tool called MyGlue. There's 1Password. Different tools like that. What we're finding is don't store your passwords in the browser. If you click on something in an email, maybe on a bad website, a threat actor can get in and take those passwords in a matter of seconds. So keep all those passwords in a tool that's encrypted. And then that tool will allow you to share those two-factor codes between others and vendors, and then just, colleagues and stuff like that. It makes it 10 times easier, and it's also secure. So definitely we heard you. We heard a lot of our clients saying, man, those two-factor codes are really annoying, but I tell you,
it's worth it though. We have one client or a couple of them that send flash drives to us, like secured mail flash drives, because that's the only way we're accessing any of their stuff. And I applaud them for it. It's kind of a pain for us, but like, if it prevents us from not meeting compliance and it prevents them from having any type of attack or leak or not meeting compliance, then it's worth it 100%.
If you're building a new site for yourself today, what are you using? Is there a certain tech stack that you're using today?
Yeah, so it used to be, today I use Webflow. I think they're the best. I like them hands down. Easy to build, secure. You don't have to be a full-on code developer to run with them. They take care of all the security on their end, and you can integrate with your own security team. So you get the best of both worlds. We've had zero problems since being with them for the last 6 years. And they're only getting better. They just, like, December 15th, 100%, they're all in on Cloudflare, which is great. Right. And so, especially with everything going on with Amazon Web Servers lately, they're switching. And so that's my recommendation 100%. Our website is built on Webflow. We transitioned it from Adobe Muse to Webflow several years ago. Adobe Muse was great for designing, but it was not secure at all. not 1 ounce. If you're custom coding a site from the ground up, just because we haven't done that in a while, and we used to use Bootstrap and like all the old technology. Just work with an IT company. It's going to save you a ton of time. They're going to give you good recommendations. They're like, hey, for what you're doing, you need X, Y, and Z. You need to make sure it's secure in this way. Here's the compliance that usually comes with it. You don't have to ask your client and look like someone who doesn't know what they're talking about. If you work with an IT company, they're gonna know. They deal with those companies. So I mean, that'd be my recommendation. Just invest. I don't know if you guys do like consultation fees for like, or like a retainer for like web designers, but if you do, I mean, just put a web designer on there and just have them ask you. Like, here's what we recommend. Yeah, it costs you $500 a month or whatever it is, but it stops you from looking like an idiot or potentially messing up your clients, and their work, because they don't know. They're just there you're just in front of a marketing or an HR person that's trying to find the right agency,
Yeah. And I will say in the last year that we've dealt a lot with emails going to spam and SPF and DMARC and DNS records being up to date. And that's typically, in the realm of email and domains and stuff like that we're dealing with, we've got, a whole process and recipe to get people up to speed. But a lot of times,
and a lot of people don't even know what the DNS is. I mean, even some agencies, like, they know how to go in the DNS and change records, but they don't know what the records mean. That's the scary part. Is like, you have to change the DMARC, but do you know what you just did? Do you know how it works? Do you know what if you change it to a different key? Like, you just compromised everything. Yeah. And so having an IT company makes it a lot less stressful.
I agree. And I definitely, I'm happy to have any conversation with anybody that's listening about that. And any time you can go to creativeit.com and book a discovery call. I'll be happy to have that conversation with you, because 9 times out of 10, you're probably talking to me right out of the gate. And I will say, I wanted to touch on AI before we wrap things up. And, I feel like I'm probably there's not going to be a podcast that I'm going to be doing that isn't going to be talking about it, because it's still in its infancy, and it continues to grow and get smarter and get better and faster, and different models. Each industry is utilizing it differently. I hear different answers all the time. I got some that it's making their lives way easier. I got some that says, it's not ready yet. And then, so I'm just kind of interested, design is one of those things. I mean, you see the advertisements, you can't pull up social media right now without saying, hey, make your own Coke commercial right now. And just at a tap of a button, hey, I want to take this PlayStation controller and make it do this. I want to take this BMW logo and make it into a car. And then AI makes it a video right now. And so I'm just interested to see how it's affecting your industry. Do you feel like it's replacing anybody? And do you feel like that it's, is it taking up one of those squares on your hiring list at the top left where it's?
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm going to be in the middle. I love it, and I think it's absolutely great, but I also think it's not ready yet. Right. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'll start with the important one of, let's just say, logo design is a good example. We steer into the skid, right? A lot of these designers are like, oh, ChatGPT is designing logos and taking jobs away. Sure. But ChatGPT still can't create a vector. It can create an SVG, but it doesn't do a good job of it. And so a lot of these people design these logos on ChatGPT, but it's not 100% what they want. Right. Or it's just a little off, or like the numbers aren't centered, or like the text is not getting the way, or the colors aren't getting right. And so what happens is we've created a whole business off of fixing ChatGPT logos. People will come to us with their logo and they'll pay us $500. And because the whole creative process has been already taken care of by AI, all we have to do is make it look a little bit better. That's it. And so we'll charge $500. We'll take your logo. We'll make it look better. We might throw in a couple other concepts just because that's what we do. And then, we'll get it the way you want it. Then you'll have it in a vector, and then you'll have it in different color modes. You'll have it in different styles. You'll have it in a transparent background, white background, dark background. Like, you'll get the designer touch without having to do the strategy and discovery process, which is the most expensive part of design. And so I've loved it. I think, it takes us a couple hours, and $500, it's easy. And it's all because of ChatGPT. So I'm full for it, right? Also, I'm not too worried, because when you deal with a company like Target or Sierra or REI, they're never going to use AI to design their brand. They won't do it. They're going to come to an agency and have that full human touch and experience, because it takes a lot of creative thought that AI is just not going to be there, at least for 5 to 10 years, to be able to match that. And so if you're worried about, the little mom and pop shop, yes, I'd say 3 years, 5 years, you're probably out of a job. ChatGPT will then be able to help them for free, or $20 a month, whatever the cost is, right? So I like it and I hate it at the same time. We use it. It makes us extremely efficient. We use it for almost anything. We use it for calendar scheduling. We use it for online bookings. We use it for quick. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lorem Ipsum Summorum Et, the dummy text that goes in, like the dummy Latin text. So we no longer do dummy Latin text. Now we actually have ChatGPT create text for the websites. So it's actually usable text, right? Obviously, we still want to go in there and replace the copy with something better. But like in the meantime, I don't have to ever get the question anymore from clients is, why is all this text in a different language? We get that every time. Now they can be like, oh, I like it, but I want to change it up a little bit. Right. And so we can provide somewhat of a copy in our designs. Idea creating is huge. Doing quick research is huge. Creating apps is huge. I mean, any type of coding that we mess up is huge. It fixes it, explains how it fixed it. Math, we're designers, so we're terrible at math. So that helps, And then, the videography tools. I mean, AI is great. Now you look at, AI does advanced noise suppression on mics and audio, right? We have that running. We have AI running right now into this microphone. So the noise suppression and all the acoustics are gone because of AI. That wasn't there 2 years ago. The color in the background, I could easily turn the filters off on the background, and it's all run by AI. It's an AI filter that auto adjusts the filters on my screen. See, if I turn them all off, this is what it really looks like. But AI allows it to enhance it. And so AI is definitely 100% used in our company. We love it. I have no problems with it. What I don't like is that certain designs become too generic. You might run into issues with the USPTO, so we have to match it against that. It'll create names for your new business that most of the time will get you sued if you use them. We actually ran into that. We ran into that in the client last week. He gave us a ChatGPT logo. Beautiful. It looked great. The name was awesome. After we refined it, turns out it was an idea from ChatGPT as well, a messaging idea, and they couldn't use it. So we had to now go and do the creative process with them, which cost more when they could have just done that in the first place, right? So I do caution against it for business owners. Be careful.
Any other productivity AI apps that maybe for, you mentioned communication, these are some of the ones that are directly affecting your job, and anything else that besides ChatGPT that you can think of that you love, and this is a game changer.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So 11 Lab. Let me double check. 11 Labs is the name of the company, and it's 11labs.io. So ELEVENLABS.io. We haven't had to pay for a voiceover in a year and a half. And we had a client of ours that said, hey, I need a radio ad. You know how they sound on the radio, right? We need a radio ad just real quick, 30 seconds. We need it within 3 weeks. Can you do it? I had it to him in 30 seconds. He's like, how'd you do it so quick? I was like, because I used AI. And then you couldn't tell the difference. It was a radio voice and a professional one. It sounded amazing. Like you would never know the difference. And I got it to him in 30 seconds when it would have taken a couple weeks with a voiceover artist. It'd probably cost us $300-$400. And this cost us $10 a month. And so now we do social media videos because some of the clients don't like to speak. They don't like the sound of their voice, which I try to boost their confidence. I say, you are the face of the company. Your voice is amazing, but they want an AI. So now we have videos that we put the AI voice on. We can just use B-roll, never have to record anybody, create a script, and it's like you would have no idea. So 11 labs for your social media content, for voiceovers, for any video work, for any type of voice you need. We used 11 labs. If you call our phone number and listen to our background of our phone, the person talking, that's AI. That's a huge game changer in the industry, and I recommend, besides ChatGPT, that's probably one of my favorites to use.
Man, I'm gonna check that out. I might even call your line too and see if I can.
Do it. Yeah, you'll hear it, and it sounds you would have no idea that it's AI. And you got a million different voices to choose from in all different languages.
I spent quite a long time listening to voiceovers, trying to find which ones we liked for different things. So been there. So I'm definitely going to check that out. We're kind of narrowing up on time here. Typically, what I like to do is just, find out, was there anybody in your early career, or maybe in your childhood, that was an inspiration to put you where you're at now? Oftentimes I hear stories about, hey, whenever I was younger, I was selling stuff, down the street, selling trash bags, whatever the case may be. And that's how, like my mom told me that I was going to either be a salesman or a preacher, one of the two. Well, I was a salesman. So, what was there anybody that was instrumental, and was there anything that you kind of knew you was going to be in creative space?
Yeah. So, there's a guy named Rob Garofalo, and he's a, commercial banker, commercial lender, I guess. And I could have that kind of wrong. That's not really my world. And funny enough, I met him through a multi-level marketing deal. I ran into him, and we were working together on in a company like that for a while. And I saw the way this man lived. I saw where his faith was. I saw how his family looked up to him, how he raised his kids, how he was making, what he was doing financially, and the people he kept around him, and how positive he was and encouraging the people to start their own business. And I basically chased him down. I was like, look, I need your mentorship. The way you're living your life is the way that I aspire to live mine, right? I aspire to, when I have kids, that they be raised the way you raise your kids, and how much of a joy they are. So it was more than just business. And for over 10 years, he's a huge reason for where I am today. And so I tell anybody, if you have a chance to have a mentorship, like true mentorship, and that doesn't mean someone's going to tell you what you like to hear. He tells me what I need to hear, whether I like it or not. And I have to be man enough to sit there and take it and think about it and be, he's right. Or like, and not get offended. And he has had an instrumental role, and he knows nothing about design, nothing about my agency. I mean, he knows about it, but he doesn't know anything in my world, but he knows the basic principles that can help take me to the next level. He's dealt with clients that are difficult, that are easy. In your world, he's dealt with compliance through the bank, and so he has been a huge role in my life. Funny enough, you mentioned selling stuff as a kid. My dad owned his own business. He owned his own insurance company, and he was whether or not he'd think so, he was an instrumental role in my life. I saw him always at home. I actually went to work with him a couple times. We got to go on trips as a family. He was around. He was strict and stern, but in a good way, because I was kind of a trouble kid, And so it was my being able to see entrepreneurship my whole life that kind of got me for who I hang around. My best friend is an entrepreneur. He does a loan officer. My other best friend is a real estate agent, right? My other best friend was a photographer doing his own stuff, and now he works at a print shop. And the people in my life are all entrepreneurs. And so because of that, that's where my focus has always been. And so I give the credit to them, right? None of this that's happened, none of the success I've had. Also, I want to mention those awards. They weren't all me, right? They're me and my team, right? I wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for the people that I work with, the people that are in my life. I wouldn't be anything, right? I'd be still doing photography here and there. And so I think the company you keep, take the top 5 people in your life that are the best people in your life and keep them. I think that'll help you. And so that's where I attribute my success to. and how I grew up and how I got to thinking the way I think is because of those people, my dad and Rob specifically.
Tristan, this has been an awesome conversation. I know, I'd like to, invite you back, and we'll catch up with you here, maybe in a year, kind of see where you're at and what things have changed. I've kind of been trying to do that with some of my early podcast invitees here. So I'd like to invite you back. And then, we've learned today from hiring to AI to cybersecurity, evolution of remote creative work. I appreciate you joining us today.
Sure. No, I appreciate you, Jake. And thanks for everything you do too. I love what you guys are doing at Creative IT, and I'm hoping you can help everybody because they're going to need it, especially in the next couple of years with AI and everything else. They need protection more than ever.
Is there any place that if someone wanted to get in contact with you for work, or if they wanted to talk to you, or maybe they want a mentor, where can they find it?
Yeah. So you can either go to vavagraphics.com. So VAVA graphics with an S.com, and go to the contact button. Most of the time, if you call that phone number, you're going to get me. If not, ask for me and you'll get me. That's the best way. You could also send me an email, Tristan, Tristan @vavagraphics.com. Just let me know that you heard about me through Jake or Creative IT, so I know it's not spam. And more than happy to talk with you. And at least, even if you need advice on something like a logo design or whatever, just let me know. More than happy to talk with you.
And for everyone listening, we'll link to that website in the show notes and all of Tristan's resources. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and connect with us on LinkedIn and for behind the scenes insights from our guests. Until next time, stay curious, stay secure, keep innovating, and we'll see you in the next one.
Remote First Innovators podcast requires more than a conversation. It takes action, research, and collective wisdom. If today's episode resonated with you, we'd love to hear your insights. Join the conversation and help us shape the future together. We'll be back with more stories, strategies, and real-world solutions that are making a difference for everyone. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe, rate, write a review, and share it with someone you think would benefit from it too. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.